Welcome to StoryTime English. This is where English stories come alive. Today's tale is filled with adventure and mystery, so sit back and enjoy. And if you love stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Finding My Voice. Chapter 1. The Silent Struggle. Amy had always loved the English language. She could read it fluently, understand movies without subtitles, and even enjoyed listening to English songs. Yet, despite her deep understanding, there was one thing that always held her back. She couldn't speak English with the same ease. Living in Australia, Amy often found herself surrounded by English speakers. At work, in social gatherings, and even at the grocery store, everyone around her spoke English. Whenever someone asked her a question, Amy's mind raced to find the right words, but they always seemed just out of reach. She would nod, smile, and sometimes mutter a few words, but deep down, she wished she could express herself fully. Her friends and colleagues were supportive. They knew she understood everything they said, and they often praised her for her comprehension. But Amy felt frustrated. She wanted to join conversations, share her thoughts, and be part of the group, not just as a listener, but as an active participant. Chapter 2. The Invitation. One day, Amy's colleague Sarah invited her to a dinner party. "It's just a small gathering with some friends," Sarah said. "I'd love for you to come." Amy hesitated. She enjoyed spending time with Sarah, but the thought of being in a room full of English speakers made her nervous. What if someone asked her a question? What if she couldn't find the right words? "Don't worry," Sarah added, sensing her hesitation. "It'll be fun, and everyone will be happy to meet you." With some encouragement, Amy agreed to go. That evening, she stood in front of her mirror, practicing sentences in English. She repeated simple phrases like, "How are you?" and "Nice to meet you," trying to build her confidence. But the more she practiced, the more anxious she became. Chapter 3. The Dinner Party. When Amy arrived at the dinner party, she was greeted warmly. Sarah introduced her to everyone, and they all seemed friendly. But as the evening went on, Amy found herself slipping into her usual role as the quiet observer. She listened to the conversations, laughed at the jokes, and nodded along, but she rarely spoke. At one point, a guest named Mark turned to her and asked, "So, Amy, what do you do for fun?" Amy's heart raced. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. She loved reading, hiking, and exploring new places, but the words wouldn't come out. She opened her mouth, but all she managed was a shy smile and a quiet, "I like books." Mark smiled and nodded, but the conversation quickly moved on, leaving Amy feeling disappointed. She wanted to say more, to share her passions, but the fear of making mistakes held her back. Chapter 4. A Chance Encounter. The next day, while walking through a park, Amy noticed a small group of people gathered around a man who was speaking animatedly. Curious, she approached them and discovered that the man was teaching a class on public speaking. He was encouraging people to find their voice, to speak confidently, and to express themselves without fear. Amy stood at the edge of the group, listening intently. The man's words resonated with her. He spoke about the importance of practice, the power of belief, and how everyone has a unique voice that deserves to be heard. After the session ended, Amy approached the man, whose name was Tom. "I'm afraid to speak English," she admitted. "I understand everything, but when it's my turn to talk, I freeze." Tom smiled kindly. "You're not alone," he said. "Many people struggle with speaking a language they understand well. But the key is to start small. Practice speaking with people you trust and don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process." He invited Amy to join his next session, which focused on building confidence in speaking. Amy hesitated at first, but something about Tom's encouragement made her want to try. Chapter 5. Finding Confidence. Amy attended the next session, feeling both nervous and excited. Tom started by asking everyone to introduce themselves in a language they weren't comfortable speaking. Amy watched as others stumbled over their words, laughed at their mistakes, and encouraged one another. When it was her turn, Amy took a deep breath and introduced herself in English. Her voice was shaky, and she fumbled with a few words, but she managed to get through it. The group clapped, and Tom gave her an encouraging nod. Over the next few weeks, Amy attended more sessions. She practiced speaking in front of the group, sharing her thoughts, and even telling short stories. Each time she felt a little more confident, a little less afraid. Tom's advice to focus on progress, not perfection, became her mantra. Chapter 6. The Transformation. One evening, after a particularly lively session, Tom asked Amy to stay behind. "You've come a long way," he said. "I can see how much you've improved, and I think you're ready for the next step." Amy looked at him curiously. "What's the next step?" "Speaking in front of a larger audience," Tom replied with a smile. "We're organizing a community event, and I'd like you to give a short talk about your journey with English." Amy's heart skipped a beat. The thought of speaking in front of a large group was terrifying, but at the same time, she felt a surge of determination. This was her chance to prove to herself that she could do it. After a few moments of thought, she agreed. Chapter 7. The Big Day. The day of the event arrived, and Amy stood backstage, nervously clutching her notes. She had practiced her speech countless times, but the butterflies in her stomach wouldn't go away. Tom gave her a reassuring smile and said, "Remember, you're not here to be perfect. You're here to share your story." When her name was called, Amy walked onto the stage, her heart pounding. She looked out at the audience, took a deep breath, and began to speak. At first, her voice was shaky, but as she continued, she found her rhythm. She spoke about her struggles with speaking English, her fears, and how she almost gave up. But she also spoke about how she found the courage to keep trying, how she learned to embrace her mistakes, and how she discovered that she had a voice worth hearing. By the time she finished, the audience was silent, hanging on her every word. When she finally said, "Thank you," the room erupted in applause. Amy felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had done it. She had found her voice. Chapter 8. A New Beginning. After the event, people came up to Amy, praising her for her speech. Some shared their own stories of struggling with language, while others simply thanked her for her honesty and courage. Tom approached her with a proud smile. "You were amazing," and he said, "You've come so far, and this is just the beginning." Amy smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment and relief. She knew she still had a lot to learn, and there would be challenges ahead, but she no longer feared speaking English. She realized that language was not just about words, but about connecting with others, sharing experiences, and expressing who you are. And for the first time in a long time, Amy felt confident in her ability to do just that. As she left the event, the world seemed a little brighter, and her steps felt a little lighter. Amy had found her voice, and she was ready to use it.